Good evening, everyone. This is Punditviews night, which is one-on-one. This is Jacob Christner, the pundit himself. And I will admit this. I said it last night that we had ourselves a special guest. And that's going to be in the future. Right now, she got sick. And I did not want to get her even sicker, trying to force herself to go on an hour show. So, I'll have to admit this thing. So I was trying to think about what do I need to get. It's like, that's right. Because here's the thing. We've had the pundit on for a bit, and we've had one of our new co-hosts. And you guys haven't really gotten to meet him yet. You've known the three. You knew the original one, Jen, and she's gone elsewhere and stayed busy. So now we have a brand spanking new one I want everybody to get to meet tonight. He's what I consider the journalist of the crew. Anyway, this is Jordan Long. Come on over. Denzel, you don't look like him.
Whoopsie!
Yeah. Anyway, let's go to Jordan. I was thinking you didn't quite look like him.
No, I mean, I love, Denzel, but yeah, just not right. Not right height. I think I have a little more hair.
Not right height. You wear a hat all the time. He doesn't.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, I wanted to bring. I know what my special thing is, but I wanted to bring you because you are the one of all of the people with the pundit that I haven't had yet. And you know what I've been telling you when we talk. We'll have our conversations and everything. I say you're kind of the journalist of the group. You know what I mean? And I like to be able to get you. Anyway, so before anything else, tell us where you were born and where you got all this interest and everything and your stuff like that.
So I was born in Grand Junction, Colorado, and a lot of people don't know where that is. That's basically, I like to call myself almost in Utah. It's basically 30 miles from the Utah-Colorado border, and my love of sports actually came from my dad. My dad's a huge sports fan. Definitely Broncos. Of course, the Rockies came in 1993. I was actually late to the party with the Colorado Avalanche. We knew there was a team here. We didn't get really into them until 2001. With the Denver Nuggets, I've always gone to games. As for, my journalism and sports, I just looked at sports like, okay, that's what I want to do. How can I do that? I knew I wasn't going to be, an athlete. I'm okay at sports, but I'm 5'6". I don't have the height to be a basketball player. I mean, I could play football, but I'm a little slow. So I'm like, what else can I do? So I got my degree at it's now Colorado Mesa University, which is located in Grand Junction, Colorado, in mass communications and broadcasting. So basically, my dream was to be a radio broadcaster. Obviously, now with Sideline, I'm kind of fulfilling that dream.
Sure.
But for journalism, I mean, I just like writing. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of it in high school and college. I mean, I did, but, it's what they wanted. I'm like, well, what can I do? So I ended up doing sports writing with my blog, which you can find at sports-scoop.com. But for journalism and all that, it just comes from my time at Colorado Mesa University.
So were you in the school? Were you on the school paper? Did you cover the games? What all did you do there?
So good question. Funny thing is, I actually did not work on the school newspaper. We did have one. I was involved, and it's called KMSA, which is a student-run radio station. And I actually had my own little show where I would talk about basically any sports, Colorado Mesa, which is a Division II school. And I also got to do some of the broadcasting because we had our own, like I said, our own radio show. So I got to, or radio station, I should say. So we had a group of us who actually broadcasted. We did basketball, we did football, and also baseball. Actually, baseball here is really popular with Colorado Mesa. They're a really good baseball team. Right now, they're ranked number 1 in the nation in Division II.
Oh, okay. That's good. It's like, and you did D2. So, the school I went to was NAIA. It was at the time Lee University, but now it's Division II. But one of the things with mine is like, and I understand the whole thing with the radio because one little piece of the secret that I haven't brought up. I had 2 weeks of a radio show called The Cruise way back when with, I forget the guy's name now. We just called it The Cruise. And the whole idea of the show was supposed to be let's get the let's just all the truckers at night. You know, we have about an hour, 2 hour show. Let's have all the truckers at night and we just all talk and they all listening and stuff, just conversation, just like we do right now in a way. It didn't have topics, but it'd just be kind of shooting the you know what. So we had that. The first week we had it was basically it was a guest on a show. Then we did a second week. And then basically what it was is, you know, the term, it's a paid show.
Mm-hmm.
It was a paid show. And let's just say I wasn't rich. So there ended that right then and there. But there ended that right then and there. But you know something? I can say I've been on the radio in Chattanooga, Tennessee for at least 2 weeks. So what the heck, right? You know?
I can say that I've been on the radio for KMSA with, I think it was 3 years that I was on the radio doing sports in college. It was a great experience. I mean, going to games for free, nothing better.
Oh, absolutely. So you got credentials and everything.
Basically, yeah.
So so really overall, it's like, you know, you do the sports scoop, you do it on Twitter and you do all the writings. Have you been doing that for like a while right now for yourself? Or?
I have. I've done it, I want to say, for 6 or 7 years. And actually, here's how it all started. I'll give you a little bit of history.
Sure.
A friend of ours, basically, she's now divorced, but her then husband was fired from a high school. I mean, high school sports, I don't believe a coach should get fired, but then again, it is what it is. But I actually wrote this whole letter about how he shouldn't get fired and basically saying how people could look up to him, the players did. And she looked at it and said, you know, you could be a blogger. I'm like, you know what, I could be. So I was thinking, well, how can I get started? So I researched it. I'm like, you know what, I might as well just start. So that's basically the history on how I got started as a blogger. I just started it and, you know, did research. I'm like, okay. She wanted me to actually do it in Grand Junction, but, you know, it's really hard because there's only, you know, high school and college. I'm like, I got to be a little broader. So what I should have done, and I do sometimes, is to do Colorado sports, but to start out with, I just did a broader statement as, you know, NFL, NHL. And then we have the Junior College World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is, you know, junior colleges, Division I, who come here. So I'm like, I'll cover that because there's not a whole lot of coverage online about it. So that's basically how I got started with the blogging.
So do you talk about all small schools or just yours?
It just depends on who's playing. Like, I've done, a lot of the times it's just Colorado Mesa, but I've done Colorado School of Mines, which is in Greeley, or no, it's not in Greeley, it's in Golden, Colorado. And I've done just like Division II championship, that just a preview, just depending on who's playing, because that doesn't get a lot of coverage. Division II hardly ever gets coverage, but mostly it is just my hometown teams.
Right. And you remind me, I actually like this because of what we're talking about, because you kind of remind me of my hometown, because what we've had is like the same couple of people over the years that they love covering the local sports. Local baseball, the women's softball, local, girls softball, local tennis, local basketball, so all those, they cover them all. And it is just their life. And it's like, they love it more than if they covered the Cardinals. And it's like, and it's one of those, and there's something. So do you like covering local sports more than national sports? Because these are people, even though they love their sports. I mean, one of the people, I'm going to have an interview with him in the next 3 weeks or so. I'm aiming at a time. He's done it for 30 years, and he's from Sacramento, California. He's a big Sacramento Kings fan. So it's like, he just loves this.
In terms of covering like Colorado Mesa and the JUCO World Series, not many people do it. So I definitely enjoy that aspect. But of course, once it's, the fall and Colorado Mesa football is doing awful, I like to cover, the Broncos. I would say the Rockies, but they're never in the playoffs. But definitely the four major sports we have in Colorado is also fun to cover. And then, of course, if there's a huge firing that's national, I like to post that, just like Monte Williams. I still don't understand why he got fired, but it all just depends on what's going on. But definitely like to try to keep it local if I can. Oh,
absolutely. It's like, because local sports aren't covered that much because it's basically, boring to the other end of the world. It is to them, but there is something about local. There is, and it's like, I get it. It's like, I'm always told, this is the funny thing, I'm always told that if I would go back home, that it's not going to be the same anymore. I left when I was 20 years old. I'm going to be 45 soon. It's a reminder, and it's like everybody that says that is probably right. It's like I've been home to visit, but it's like there is different worlds. I think the only reason I would ever go, the only thing I would enjoy would be the local sports, because I still pay attention to local sports, even from there. I finally this year paid a little bit of attention to like Georgia football, but that's been almost 25 years out of the thing. I finally paid attention to anything but Illinois. And I'm not even a fan of the state, but it's just, you just get that world,
Well, and I agree with that. I know when I'm not in town, I always like to see how the college I went to, my alma mater, Colorado Mesa, is doing, because I'm always curious about how the baseball team is doing. If I can't watch the football team, how they're doing, or basketball team, it's definitely nice to see, the local sports doing well. I even do it for high school sports, because Grand Junction, Colorado, I mean, in terms of our high school sports, we do get a lot of coverage from, the radio and the TV. But if you go, we call it the Front Range, which is, Denver and Colorado Springs. They're the bigger schools that get the most coverage. So it's nice to see Grand Junction High School, where I went to, do well in a playoff, because they're just a smaller school than the Denver schools.
Absolutely. And now, as far as journalism goes, see, you did radio broadcasting, correct?
I did, yes.
As far as journalism, I like to call you my journalist, even though we have Scott Morganroth on our thing, and he's been one for ages. I like to call you this because of future. And it's like, I notice you like to check things. You love to be able to ask questions. You love all that kind of stuff about it. Now, what is your thing? I know that we always talk about the change in journalism, but what is it that you love about it?
Well, it's the fact that you can research facts and basically get your own opinion. I know, especially when we do the pundit's pundit, when you say here are the topics, I go in and see, well, what are we talking about, and the who, what, when, where, and why, and then I get my own opinion, because it's based on what they do. And then, of course, I write a million notes, just even if I don't use them, at least it's for me to understand. I think journalism has definitely changed over the years. It used to just be, print media or magazines. Now, I would have to say, even like the radio stations. I sent you a article today about, James Marilat, who works for 104.3 The Fan. That's where it's transitioning, because radio, as we know, is starting to die a little bit. So they have to figure out what else to do. So they go into the journalistic approach, which makes sense, so they can get their content out. But I just love researching and getting the facts and knowing what I'm actually talking about.
Oh, and with James Marilat, I already sent him one of my little messages. I said, quit being an idiot.
Oh, yeah, James Marilat. That's him, though. I mean, I'm not trying to call him out, but I know he...
Oh, that's my job.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, and it's funny to read his stuff, because you're like, where is he getting these facts? For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, he basically said if the Nuggets win, Nikola Jokic will be the biggest superstar in Colorado history, which isn't right. He just has a big ego, and he likes forging the truth. What I mean by that is he likes his truth and not what's actually going on.
Well, you know what it is we have to blame people. We have to blame people on something like this. They allow it.
Right.
There was something that I talked about when it comes to acting. And we talked about, me and this other actor were talking a little bit earlier today. And we talked about this, and it was the idea of, I remember I called it the QWERTY keyboard mob.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like add a letter depending on the special interest group. Yeah, It's like same thing. It's like it's like one of the issues is when you blame people, who's where you blame them, is that it's the fact that they are allowing these mobs, the groups. You could just say, oh, it's got to be the L's this week, the G's this week. Okay, add an I plus maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 ABC. That it's got to be those, but it depends on the groups. You've got something like that. And then you get a pile of people that's like, gotta listen. And it's never been me. That's never been me. It's like, to me, it's all, it's like in the end, go in, you're good. Buy or sells, we go to a gas station, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We go to a gas station, we fill up. We meet every type of individual. Are we slamming on them? Are we like, are we kicking them in the nuts? Are we doing all that? No, no. Hi, how are you doing today? Cool. A hot day out there, isn't it? That it's like just respect. But where did this all come to where we're all disrespectful if we don't want to follow in?
I wish I knew that answer because I've always been taught, treat others the way you want to be treated, or respect your elders. I've never been this disrespectful person. I don't understand where it comes from. I think the problem is, and we've talked about it on Punditviews, or pundits, I should say, is people don't like to have a conversation. We're a society that's on the run now. We don't care about saying hi, hello, or what have you. We just want to get what we want and leave. We don't really care about the other person nowadays. And it wasn't like that 15, 20, 30 years ago. People would like to, have a little conversation, but nowadays it's just on the go, go, go. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
Well, and see, we can put a blame, like I said, we put the blame on that to the people that allowed it.
That's true.
Because how can you blame anybody making money off of it if they know it's going to work?
Mm-hmm.
I myself, I always have said pundit is going to be the dead last to get attention, which it was, and one of the ones that get huge later, which I believe so still. I believe the idea is, because I do believe, see, the whole idea of these people that watch, that just want the ticks, they want the clicks, the everything like that. They just want it quick and they want it now. I think those are big city people. Those are just different types. But I believe there are more what they call flyover state people out there that just simply want information. But it's not marketed.
Mm.
I mean, ESPN, Bleacher Report. You go to Bleacher Report. You can go to Outkick. You can go to Barstool. Any of them now are now the clicks. Quick clicks.
Well, I think with 104.3 The Fan, that's what they're trying to do, is just get clicks. I mean, yes, they have a great radio show. I don't listen to their programming. It's not because I don't like them. It's because a lot of the times they just talk about the Broncos, and that gets old in May. So I listen to Altitude Sports 92.5, which talks about all Colorado sports. But with James Maryland, I think it's just more him getting clicks. And it's just annoying because I don't want to say I don't respect his opinion, but that's what I'm going to say. It's just, he's just out there for clicks. He cares about his radio station, but it's more, how can we get clicks to our website, to our radio station? And this is how we're going to do it.
And but that was the thing. What's his demographic? That's the question we have. It's, how old are you, by the way?
I'm 35.
Yeah. And it's like, so what's his demographic? And I'm 10 years older. Are we that demographic?
Honestly, I think he's trying to cater to the younger fans than us.
Well, quite possibly. I mean, see, I talked to my nephew. I talk to my nephew once in a while to text, but then I'll see him. He says it himself. It's like he and I were playing NBA 2K23 the other night. Of course, he kicked my butt, but he'd better, because that means I'm not doing the right things if I'm getting good. But the thing about it, he kicked my butt, but he and I, for about 2.5 quarters, we had like 55 lead changes or something, some ridiculousness going back and forth. I had the Bulls of 90-91. He had the USA 2012 team. So we're just, I thought we were going to both score 200 points. But these are the things I was saying. What's the by itself? It's like, what is with this? I mean, where's the defense? I guess they said true, but it's more entertaining. I mean, he's a 15-year-old, and it's like, you've got to listen to that. And it drives me nuts with my Bears, because you've heard me with Fields.
Yep.
I want Fields to win. I think Fields wants to win. That's what I do love about him. But just the fans, they have 35-year-old men acting like it's teenagers at a Michael Jackson concert way back in the day, and like, and then fainting. And okay, he makes a touchdown. Yay, we good. Meanwhile, he has 5 wins and 20 losses. But they're entertained, and I have to put that in my head.
Well, and that's what sports is really entertainment. I mean, we see it same here with Russell Wilson. last year he didn't play so well. There were so many people that are older than me that just wanted to cut him. I'm sitting there going, guys, it's 1 year. He'll be fine. I mean, it is ridiculous that, fans do get on these players because all they are it's for entertainment. That's all it is. I've learned that the hard way. I mean, you know me, I criticize officials all the time, but it took me until the Broncos started missing the playoffs to realize, you know what, this is a game. Why do I get so mad at it? It's just a game.
Well, you got older. That's the big thing. It's like mind you, we had the thing the other night. We had the topic the other night about destroying your own property.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, but the thing is, I don't think any of us would have thought of doing that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's like that's a mental problem to be able to do that in the first place, especially if you're doing it to get clicks. But one of the things we've seen in this world is the fact that it's like it is such a different time with young people. Mm-hmm. And it is more entertaining than ever. And then last 17 years, and it gets worse as the years go by. Now, mind you, no question in my mind, I know this. The greatest Bears quarterback in history is definitely not Mitchell Trubisky.
No,
I liked him because he helped win ball games. If there was a kicker, here's the thing. I'll give you a little piece of information. If there was a kicker on that team, and he didn't deal with 3 kickers in his lifetime, if there was a kicker, it would have been Robbie Gould. He would have had 13 fourth-quarter comebacks in 4 years.
Oh, I agree with that.
He had 9. Ends up he had 9 in his career, and it's like, and that's the big thing about this is the fact that he was doing enough to drive the ball. So what they do, is he a star? Is he a hero? No. He probably bores people because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what's funny. He's run 40 yards before. He's run 40 yards, but he never ran 80 like Justin Fields. But it's like, what do you take? Do you take the big play, go down to the end and win the ball game? Or do you take continuously losing, but you get a big play? And that's look at what the stands look like right now. Go back to like 85 Bears and look at the meatheads. Look at the meatheads that look like they just came off the grill. You know what I'm saying? They were in the grill with a beer and everything. Look at them. Every one of them looked like the Bears. From the Chicago from Saturday Night Live.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And the crowd looked like that. Now, very much kids. And by the way, read that.
I completely agree, Will, that you and I need to have our own show.
So what would be the show?
That's the one.
I love it.
We have to figure it out. I know. The one thing that I've talked to Will about, and it's not talked about on this on our network a lot, is hockey. I've had a hockey show with them. There's plenty of people who would also want to be guests. I know Jake Malik, he's a huge Rangers fan. I know John Shear, Canes fan. I mean, it would be nice to actually have a hockey show on the network. But, well, you and I will talk about it eventually.
Oh, absolutely, and that would be a great deal. Now, bringing it to the back and stuff, we have to look at who's in the crowd. The crowd's filled back then just like they do now. I'm just looking at WrestleMania. Here's the thing. I'm looking at WrestleMania 27 and where I'm at right now on the television. I look at WrestleMania 27. I was there live. It was Atlanta. I was there live. I hadn't seen it since I was there live, not even on the thing. So it's fun to watch. that, but look at the different type of crowd now. There's more of a variety of the crowds now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, guess what? There's more women in the crowd now, more girls in the crowd now. That's from 12 years ago. That's from 12 years ago. Even then, there's more girls. There's more the younger generation. There's more variety of people now. So it's like, look at NFL. How many times, look at an NFL ad. It used to be all trucks and tools and everything like that, and even cars and stuff. Take a look now. They have women's stuff on the NFL ads because like 35% of fans are women now.
They are. I mean, I'm going to say my sister has been a Bronco fan since she was born, so there's that demographic. But I know when I used to go to Bronco games, or even hockey games. I mean, I would never think a woman would like hockey, but you know what? They do. I'm glad they do. It's just interesting to see women in a crowd of sports because we all think of men watching, and it's not. It's not just men. That's also why I believe that we talked about the WNBA. I'm glad they're getting more coverage because I think, women's sports are starting to get bigger and grow, and it's nice to see them grow. So it'd be nice to see other sports do that have women.
Well, I will admit this. I don't pay attention to where I was, but I do have a respect for what they're able to do. The biggest thing I always said, you heard me say it on the shows, even when you were watching before you were on, you heard me say it. I'm like, okay, I'm more than willing to give them the same amount of money as far as advertising money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what they can do with it. Let's see if it's there. Guess what? They're starting to build. And like, good. It's like, what can you do? Am I still going to watch? Maybe one day if I get into it. That doesn't mean I'm not respecting what they do. But if they make the money, that doesn't lie.
I completely agree. I think the thing is for the WNBA, the reason why I don't watch it is because Colorado doesn't have a team. Now, there is some talk that we may get a team in the next few years, especially if it starts to grow and, they get the advertising money. I think it'd be great. We know that Becky Ham, who's the
Hammond,
she's one of the best college players that ever played here in Colorado. I believe she played for Colorado State University, so it's nice to see her doing well. And maybe if there is a team in Colorado, she can actually. I know she's with Las Vegas, but at least maybe she can advertise and say, "Hey, let's get more girls into the WNBA. Let's get a team here in Colorado." I think she would be great for that, just to advertise to get a team here.
Well, see, years ago, Jesse Ventura had an interview. With somebody, and one of the parts of the interview, he was at the WNBA game, the Minnesota Lynx. Just talking about how he prefers this over the NBA because it's team ball. And this was like 8 to 10 years ago. And this says the thing himself. This is his opinion on it. But if you heard this, I don't think they're going to do this anymore for that thing. But if you heard this now, this would be all over the bank. Over the thing, a big rough guy like Jesse Ventura, who was in Buds, in Navy Buds, and he was explosions, demolitions, and everything like that. And he was a biker and everything, prefers women's sports. That was not even spread around back in that time. And that just shows how quick things have gotten.
That's the first time I've ever heard that, because I know Jesse Ventura as like the wrestler. I never knew he was way into women's sports like that.
Oh yeah. Well, he has a son and a daughter, and he's got his wife, and he has a respect for her. And see, he never cheated on her or anything. He's had such indifferent. But you got to remember, he was let's see, not necessarily a Navy SEAL, but Buds, which was underwater demolition. He did that, and then he was in a biker gang for a little bit. Then he was in a small rock band, and then and then wrestler, and then he was the mayor of Minnesota. Movie star first. Movies, then mayor of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, then governor, and then he's been a professor. He was a professor at Harvard for a little bit.
Jeez, I'm learning more about Jesse Ventura than I ever thought of.
See, this is what I talk about. This is what I was talking about by itself. It's like, that's why I was saying, I know you were seeing that kind of part. It's like there's worlds of information out there.
There are.
There's worlds of information out there. It's like, see, one of my big things I do, and I'll say this. I consider myself a pundit. But I have piles and piles and piles of emails that need to get read through. And I try to get through it, but then you're busy with work. You're doing all that. But you get those, and I look at all of mine. I look at all my emails, and I mean, I've got different things like business emails from like the millennial generation and Generation Z. I get them from sports. I get it from Sports Business Journal and Sportigo and front office sports, and I get all of those, and it's just different worlds. And those are just little things. You just wake up in the morning and you get that. That's where I get. It's like if I was a journalist, I'd probably be easy.
Yeah.
See, and it'd probably be easy for that. It's like those are something you could hit. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you're getting those emails, you could definitely research or get a lot of more information about what they're talking about. So yeah, I could see that.
I'll send it. I'll send you. I'll forward you some. We'll get an email tonight. I'll forward you some. What I usually get, but they're just interesting. You see, that's the big thing is why because I know you're interested, but there's so many things that aren't necessarily mainstream.
Oh,
I
for
learned about
sure.
the AI thing like about 18 months ago when they were first starting the deal.
Well, and I know you've mentioned a lot of stuff on Pundit's Pundit, which I appreciate that. Like the poor kid that was, you know, ended up being killed, who was
Hmm.
6 years old. I never heard of that until you told me. It's like some of those stories should be more mainstream, but why are they so small? I don't know. They're not even covered even hardly on Twitter. I had to go through you to figure that out, and you said you got to put this
You
guy's
only got
name
to
to
dig the
figure.
whole
Ex-
name out there. Yeah.
That's exactly what I did to find that.
Yeah.
And like I was saying on the Pundit's Pundit the other day, or last week, I should say, the reason why we don't see those small stories is we want the bigger, better stories. And not saying a 6-year-old being shot isn't a big story. It should have been covered. I just don't understand why the media doesn't cover a small story like that.
Well, there are what I would be doing. Like I said, I'll send you some stuff tonight. What I will usually read and stuff. There's a lot in this world that people don't see, and it's why it's in email. That's why it's in emailed things and stuff like that. Little subscription things with emails. It's for those people at the moment. But if you don't know those, what do you know?
Right. I That's certainly true because there are so many stories that you post out that I don't see unless you tweet them or put them on our show on the Pundit's Pundit.
Well, I get my thing. My personally myself is like I'd probably have to quit. To me personally, I don't want to do that. I'd probably quit pundit if I was to become a journalist because I'd be having to travel around the world and do all of those
Right.
to try to dig for stories that I want to see, and then you get to that. But I just like getting the information out there, and plus the fact I think journalism's your thing more than mine.
It really is.
Yeah, it's yours. It is more yours. And really, and so you've done. So when did you? Let's see. You got yourself. You're graduating. When did you graduate from college?
I graduated college in the spring of 2011.
Right. I was '04, so that tells you how long ago that was. so,
Times have changed a little bit.
so did you get any more radio shots after that?
I did not, but I also decided that I needed to basically get more experience if I was going to be an on-air radio personality. I went to the American Broadcasting School, which is an online school. They do have I want to say it's in Texas or Oklahoma. They actually have a actual school, but the basically they taught you how to be an on-air personality. They gave you the technology to do so, and actually they would also help you with because when you hear a radio ad, it's always voice from anybody basically. So they taught you how to be to read scripts and all that. I got it was a great experience. It got me more comfortable on air, but then I just kind of did my blog and my I did have a podcast, which was under review, which is funny because now it's my Sideline sports show. But I had that going for a while just to keep up my radio voice.
Sure.
I definitely tried to get into radio, and then I figured out it was a little hard for now. And then I just went in because I didn't have the experience, and that's what Sideline Sports actually has given me is the more experience to be on air.
Oh yeah, and well, and those kind of things because it's like, see, you're probably doing it right, truthfully, because I have every bit of story in life, every kind of story that just makes people, but I just kind of go do it. Like I tried being a pro wrestling promoter, failed miserably. Failed miserably like twice, and I was like, okay, there's that. But then let's see what else. I tried getting on the radio, became a trained actor. I've been a trained actor about 15 years, and it's little things like that. And the first thing I did there, instead of like going into a school, I got onto a murder mystery, the dinner theater called what's it called? I'm trying to think because I had a couple of them. Oh yeah, Murder at the Italian Redneck Wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, and I play a minister, and then I played the star, which I was not ready for. And plus the fact the star was like 5'5" and 120. I'm about. I'm much taller. I'm much taller, so the sight gags that the big guys did, they couldn't do with me. So that was the end of that. But I just kind of go do it. I kind of just go do things, and just and fail. Who cares? In the meantime, I've got that experience.
Yeah, that's true.
It gets real quick. I was going to say this part. I always say this. In the end, all it is are stories for the future grandkids.
That's certainly true. I
It is
agree with that.
like, so who cares if we fail? We succeed, we fail. All it takes is one success with a billion failures, and then you find it. You know what I mean?
I hear you for sure.
And what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I was interrupting.
Oh, I was just going to say, I also, once I graduated college, I actually, it's sports management worldwide. I guess there was a actual radio broadcaster who did sports, so it was just focused on sports, and that was for like 9 weeks. And it was actually interesting to hear him. He actually brought in I don't think he's the voice of the Portland Trailblazers anymore, but brought him in so we could actually hear what his experience is doing the Portland Trailblazers. So I thought it was pretty interesting experience. It was just an experience. It didn't get me very far, but it was just interesting to hear, what the guy had to say, what the actual radio broadcaster had to say. Again, like you said, it's all about experience, and that's all it was.
It really is. And see, a lot of the deal that we have right now is like for instance, doing a ball. Like, all I believe I could be is a play-by-play guy if I was to do it, because my timing is based. Remember, I've got a producer. Jay was a producer. I've tried it without producers twice. It's like I go off the beaten path. I need someone to stop. Guess what? The play-by-play guy, not play-by-play. Play-by-play guy is basically the producer. It's like, in comparison, they stop the thing. They can control the timing, all that kind of stuff. I'm somebody that needs to be play-by-play to get my tidbits in and let the leader.
I hear that. There's actually well, he's now on TV, but he started in radio. He's the voice of the Colorado Avalanche, Mark Mosier. Mm-hmm. Some of the most interesting calls, but supposedly when he's the play-by-play announcer, but when they cut him off air, he just keeps talking because he doesn't know when to shut up.
And that's one of mine. That's what I know this myself as far as the leading on the. I've tried, as I see. I've tried the show twice. I had actually John Mysek. Mysek, I had him as one of my first guests, and it was nice. It was nice enough and everything, but we went hour 47.
Jeez.
And it's like just because I can keep talking, and I'm like, I need a producer. Jen helped now, and then Jay's been great with it and everything. It's like, I know darn good well where my weaknesses and strengths are.
You're very good at talking, but time management just needs a little bit of help. Because I know you can sit and talk for hours if you had to.
Oh no! See, that's why I love the Kevin Nash. Well, see, bringing up Kevin Nash, I brought that up last week. I've tried to I do that so I can get other people watching. The whole the Click This, the Kevin Nash podcast. If someone doesn't watch wrestling, it doesn't matter. You can just ignore it or just like, huh? What he's saying, because he was a wrestler. If you're not a fan, you're not a fan. But I love his show because I've tried watching the wrestling shows, and all it is wrestling. I get bored.
Oh, I hear that.
What his show puts up is he literally talked about what he felt when his dad passed away when he was 8 years old.
Oof, that's got to be tough. At 8, I can't imagine.
And he talked about the year that was in 1968 when Detroit burned. He talks about those experiences. Then he talks about being a basketball player at the University of Tennessee. Okay, ask him in a minute. I'll finish my thing, and I'll ask him. Thank you, Will. It's like he he offers that at the University of Tennessee, and then he talks about he was in the Army as military. He was basically a military intelligence. He was one of the guards. Means he was guarding the missiles basically, and he did that for like 3-4 years. He played basketball in Europe. Just different things until he got into wrestling, and then he's a news junkie, a sports nut, all that stuff, and you just get so many things, and that's why I love the show because it reminds me of Pundit. We can go to different things.
For sure.
And I think you'd like the thing, even if you didn't pay much attention to wrestling. He's funny, and he says the F word every 3 words, so you have to get used to that.
I'm always looking for an interesting podcast. That's why I keep going to just the radio stations with 92, I think it's 92.5 or 92.3 altitude. because I find them entertaining. I might actually find that pretty entertaining, even if it's wrestling. It's nice to, broaden my horizons a little bit more.
It's probably about 30%, 40% wrestling. It's like, here's so many things there's so many things that they can speak about. It's he and Sean Oliver. See, they were both, Kevin Nash is a wrestler who happens to be in 24 movies. Sean Oliver is a trained actor. He's a trained actor and producer. So he's been to film school and everything. So it's and they both have really good conversations.
Huh. I think that would be entertaining. You'll have to send me the link.
It's called Click This, KLIQ, by the way. Click This Nash podcast. But anyway, so let's ask this. And Will, thank you very much for that question. How did you find Sideline?
So a couple of years ago, during the height of the pandemic, I was just browsing on Facebook. I ended up being in, I guess, one of the same groups that JB Ellis was in. And he was saying he needed somebody for an NBA show, which obviously that NBA show is not on the network anymore for various reasons. So I messaged him like, well, who do you need? And he was like, well, who do you like? So I'm listing, all Denver Nuggets players. He's like, well, why don't you cover the Suns? I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and cover the Suns. And then we had a meeting with Megan Price, JB Ellis. I can't remember who else was on there. And it's like, oh, I think Will was on there too. The first time I ever met Will. And that's actually how I got started on the Sideline. I did, and how I discovered Sideline. I was just doing the NBA Carousel show, which I know you were a part of.
Yeah.
And then it morphed from there. I know JB, before we were on TV, wanted me to do a podcast. So I did a 20-minute podcast for him. And then that's just basically how I discovered Sideline.
The thing is that NBA podcast, that actually tested me. I loved it because at the time, I'll make a confession here. I did not have hardly any channels during the time. I was basically on streaming. So what I would do is I would get some of the highlights, get the players that I would get the ideas and get the best news stories. That's why I was bringing up the idea of the business end of everything. So when I added so many different things, I probably did a total each night, so 10 minutes worth of what's the thing like watching. I'd watch the things and I'd do some research, 10 minutes of research, and I just do my show. I just do my prospect. I just did that just because I didn't have I wasn't watching the games that close and doing all because I didn't have them.
Well, the funny thing is they had me do the Phoenix Suns, and you guys know I'm a Denver Nuggets fan.
Sure.
So what I ended up doing is I streamed a few Suns games to just get an idea of, well, what do they look like? And then it was just box scores and highlights because like you, I couldn't get the games. Nuggets, I was fine because I finally got to do some of the Nuggets. Nuggets I know by heart, but the Suns, it was a challenge just because I didn't know the team very well. I got to know them after a while, but I mean, it definitely challenged me and showed me that, you know what, if you're really going to do something in sports, especially sports broadcasting, and you're not going to be in your area, you got to broaden your horizon. So that was a way for me to do so.
Well, where I was always been skilled is why I was able to succeed as much as I could, at least. Where I'm skilled at is find a bullet point. Mm-hmm. I'm able to find that one bullet point and go into it, go off the beaten path, go back to the bullet point, and it can make the whole segment. And I'm able to do that. And that's where my skill is. It really helps in monologues because I'm also the trained actor. You go off the beaten path and you get to that. That's where I was. And yeah, there are the Sacramento Kings but I did learn some stuff from them. So I got to see them improve as they had a great year this year.
They did. Unfortunately, I knew they were going to bounce out of the playoffs.
Well, it's tough. It's kind of tough when you have that thing. You wish I was a second round or something.
Right.
But you knew I was a second round. But no, it's like, one of the things about it is the fact that I lived a lot off of a lot of my improv training, a lot off my on-camera training, all that kind of deal. I lived off of it. Plus the fact I have a past history of real historical knowledge of sports.
You definitely do.
Yeah, I have that thing. And then I also read things every single morning on my emails. I read everything. So I can also put that into the segment and get to that thing, get an idea. It's just kind of build to it. I mean, I'm not going to call myself the greatest by any stretch, but I believe I have a skill there that really helps by itself. And it's like, it's no, to me, it's no different from what Stephen A. Smith does. And I'm not going to, because he's making 12 million more a year than I am, obviously.
It would be a nice gig if we were all Stephen A. Smith making 12 million, but I do agree with you. You are more of an improv guy like Stephen A. And obviously you're obviously a trained actor, so it shows.
Well, and you know something, Red, I can say this. If I was to say to anybody what they need to be on a camera, I did, Will. I did. I don't think he saw. I think he saw it. I think he just. But the you guys found Sideline and everything, you know. So it's like, you know what I think? I truly think that acting classes are huge. And I'm just saying this, not to say that you'd be the world's greatest, get 5 Academy Awards or anything. That's up to you.
Right.
That's up to you, whatever you do and stuff. But I mean, just little things like that, just like on camera, because a lot of people you're good on camera, but go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I used to be afraid of the camera. If you watch I know you weren't part of the show the first year. If you look at the first show, you can kind of see how timid I was with the camera. I didn't like being on camera. Now that I've gotten used to it, it just takes practice, practice, and practice.
Well, here's the thing. I always recommend on camera acting as far as a thing, because here's one of the things. What you and I do now is considered acting.
And I don't know where he went.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, man. Someone calling. I just said no on that.
Oh, I was like, where'd you go?
No. But what I was saying, though, was acting. Like the acting classes and stuff like that, because what I did was what you and I do is acting. It's back and forth. You follow me, I follow you. We listen to each other, and that's what acting is. The issue is what happens is when the red light comes on, people try to either overperform or they freeze.
And a lot of the time, the funny thing is, before Sideline, I would actually freeze on camera. I know in college I had to do a couple of broadcasts because we had our own studio up in at Mesa. We actually did one. I want to say I did one script, and then I did also one where we created commercials, and they could tell I was timid. I'm fine talking with you right now, but if they had the camera, I froze basically. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, and those are, but the biggest thing, I mean, I would say that you've gotten so much better on that.
Oh, I definitely have.
You have, and it's like one of the biggest things is there's 100 things that you can do, and you don't even have to be on camera. Sometimes I sold suits and menswear for years. I'm not saying you have to, but just in some kind of way, you learn how to sell, because you're going to be selling yourself anyway.
No, that's 100% true. You do.
Yeah, you're selling yourself anyway. So just the idea of just trust the main thing that you got to keep doing. And I mean, I know I do my little teaching and all that stuff like on the air, but I love it for everybody. It's like the main thing I would absolutely recommend for you is, and for everybody in the world, is just continuously just get around people. Just get around. I mean, around people, get around people, get yourself on a red light, everything that there's kind of a weakness with. And just main thing about it is get comfortable with failing.
Oh,
and
for sure.
What I mean by get comfortable with failing is we all fail. Are you kidding me? Every single day, we're not getting any money. It's like when I work and do everything. If we don't make $5 billion right now, that's what we consider that. But what I'm saying is get comfortable with failing. As I said, I'm always trying to find different things. If people don't get back to me on an email, then that's a failure. Have to get comfortable with that and not worry about it. It's like people won't take acting classes because they're too dang afraid to be in front of the camera, or too afraid to be in front of people, afraid someone's going to laugh at them. You got to let people laugh at you.
Oh, that's for sure. That's the one thing that I liked about radio, actually, is because there's nobody in front of me. It was just me and the microphone. But here, I'm talking with you. I'm talking to, Denzel, aka Jay Nelson, as well as Scott. I mean, we're all having conversations, and I've gotten more comfortable doing that. Because why? It's practice, practice, practice. I know I failed a few times with the NBA show, the NBA carousel that we used to have. Yeah. But now I've gotten so much used to it. It's like, okay, this is second nature.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And no, what would you, and really by itself, where would you like to be able to take this with Sideline? Are you looking to go to get back on radio? Are you looking to take your blog bigger, Substack? You looking at Substack idea or anything like that?
I'm right now in the process of trying to get into radio. I know we're trying to get big here at Sideline, but it'd be nice to use my voice to go into a radio position on air, whether that's music or sports. It doesn't matter to me, just so I can keep my skill of being on air. Of course, if Sideline gets big, obviously I won't have to worry about that. And also with the blog, I want to get more traffic. I just have to figure a way to get that bigger, because I know plenty of people click on it, but it's not where the traffic where I want to be. Sure. Basically, my blog is, I want to say it's a hobby, but if I could get more traffic, that'd be great. But that's not my concern with that. I love writing, but mostly I want to use Sideline to get on air radio position. And once we get big, obviously I can, scrap that idea.
Well, once it gets bigger, and that's the thing. Once you get more people, move it to Substack, because once you get that, then you can charge people monthly if people like you enough, and then you're getting your money. So I mean, that's just once you get bigger and everything, because you got to remember, by itself, you're paying monthly yourself for your end to keep it. So you got to make sure you're making money first. But it's little ideas like that, And so this has gone fast. 50 minutes. It's gone fast tonight. So one of the things about it is, like, now with Will around, let's see this by itself. Do you have any ideas what you would want to do for the hockey show?
Well, I know we're towards the end of the season, so it might have to wait. We could do off-season stuff. Basically, my idea is just to focus on our teams, because too many shows are just broad. So I'd focus on the Avalanche. I know Will would either I think he's a Penguins fan or a Canes fan. He'd focus on that. Bring other people who focus just on their teams and just talk about almost like the NBA carousel, or we have the NFL show here. Just mostly focus on our teams, and not worry about too much about news and notes from around the league. That's what I want to do.
Oh, okay. That's very cool. No, and I love the idea, because I think you two would be awesome at it. It'd be your guys' show, and plus the fact you're both ridiculous note takers. You're both ridiculous, and you're both preparation people, which I'm not.
No, we know. I mean, your information comes up here. Mine comes from written notes.
No, it's the biggest thing is I just read a lot and absorb it. But it's like, if I that's the thing I could tell is like I could definitely tell how different I am from Jay when I'm running the panel. I could definitely tell he's Mr. I am like, well, okay, Dom. So tell us what the.
It's kind of like, well, granted, I was on Confidential last year. I haven't gotten on there this year, but last year I hosted, and you can tell the difference between JB's style and mine. I'm not saying JB is a bad host, because he's great, but there's just difference on how I handle it and how he handles it.
Listen, and I was kidding. Not just kidding with you. He's like, listen, you know very well. No, but no, JB's cool. I've enjoyed the time here at Sideline, and it's like, and plus the fact I don't have a cigarette to be able to do that anyway.
I know, right?
and a background, I have a background to get lost into.
That's true. I mean, he does have a Sideline background. Sometimes he wears his little jacket that's a Sideline. So
he's good at promoting the product. I love that, So Jordan, tell us where you're at, and let's see if we can get Will. Let's see if we can get Will and you together as soon as possible for this show.
So obviously, I'm on the Pundit on Wednesdays. On Tuesdays, I'm on with Scott Morgenroth on 100. And I want to say 8
stitches, which is what Candy gives him when he acts up.
Yeah, I always say 105 or 104, and he's like, "You want to make this stitches run?" But that's on. Let's see, Tuesdays. The time changes. But otherwise, you can find me on other Sideline sports shows. I also have a blog that we've been talking about that I write Mondays through Thursdays, with podcasts on Fridays. Unfortunately, I haven't had a whole lot of time to do podcasts because I'm traveling a lot at sports-scoop.com. And I got to get my show back on the network on Sideline Sports under review. But again, I've been traveling, and that's usually on Fridays. I've been traveling so much that I haven't had a time to actually do my normal show. Sometimes I'll have Will on there once in a blue moon, but I really got to get my show on there more often.
Absolutely. And no, I was going to say this. It's like, I can't wait for that show. And by the way, let's get Denzel back over here real quickly before we say goodbye. wanted to get him. It's like we'll see. He's choking down his meal.
He's probably hungry. I mean, it is.
I thought you'd be
7
choking
o'clock
down
there?
your meal. It's like, okay, hurry. But
Gotta wrap up, guys, because I got training with some of the
no,
new
I understand completely. But I wanted to say appreciate you watching us tonight and everything. And what do you think of the idea of Will and Jordan with the hockey show?
Absolutely, we need a hockey show.
No,
We
absolutely. So let's. I'm glad Will brought it up. Let's get the thing going. So I can't wait.
Agree.
Hey, maybe either call it the power play or the slap shot or something. I don't know.
There you go. We'll figure out a name. He had one. I can't remember what he called it.
I think Blades of Steel is actually taken.
Yeah, that'd become a video game.
Yeah,
that would be a fun little thing if people didn't remember the video games.
Right.
I know, right?
Well, guys, for Jacob Christner, for Jordan Long, thank you very much. And we will see you Wednesday. I'll have topics tomorrow. You'll love them just the same. And then Will, thank you. And hopefully we've got a show out of this. I'm Jacob Christner, the Pundit's Pundit for Punditviews, and have a good night.